Hi, welcome back to a new video. In this video, we're going to explore how we can run a ChatGPT style AI system on a Raspberry Pi 5. We're going to use Ollama and Open WebUI to run Meta's brand new Llama 3 model. It will run entirely offline, all on our Raspberry Pi. Don't worry if it doesn't make too much sense right now. We're going to go through it step by step. So, some of the things we're going to discuss are a quick overview of what an LLM is, how to install and use Ollama with Meta's new Llama 3 model. We'll demonstrate some of the different models that are available. We'll set up a web interface for our Ollama using Open WebUI, and then we'll use some different models in Open WebUI. And then finally, we'll discuss how we can improve performance. So let's get going. The term LLM is short for Large Language Models. Large language models are part of artificially intelligent processors to generate human-like text. Now, these models are trained with large amounts of data, usually gathered by the model creator. They come in different shapes and sizes and can have specific functionalities, such as writing code, or they can be more general chat-style models like Meta's Llama 3 or OpenAI ChatGPT. When we run our local AI system, we will use a number of different large language models to demonstrate their functionality. Now, to set up Ollama, I'm going to use a fresh install of Raspberry Pi OS on a microSD card inside a Raspberry Pi 5 8GB model. So we're now at the desktop of the Raspberry Pi 5 and I've got the Ollama website open ready. So to install Ollama, we just need to click the download button and then run this one command. Now, generally, I don't recommend running commands like this directly from websites, but if you click the link here, you can view the script and its entirety before running it. I've checked the script over and I'm happy, it's okay, so I'm going to click this button here to copy, and then I'm going to go to my terminal and I'm going to paste the command in and then press enter, and then this will start the Ollama installation process. We'll skip the video forward until that's completed. So with the installation complete, we can run our first model. Now, the easiest way to do this is to go back to the Ollama website and then click on the models link at the top right hand corner. Now we're going to select the Llama 3 model, and this is Meta's latest large language model. And I'm really eager to try it out, so I'm just going to click the link. And when this page loads, we will get a lot of information about the model that we can read, and if we scroll down, we'll see that it's Meta's new Llama 3 model and lots of information. We don't need to worry about that too much. The main thing I'm going to point out is this, and this is the file size of the model. And as it's a large language model, the file size is quite large. So, on to the fun bit. Let's actually run this model. So we just need to go here and click the button to copy the command. Then we'll take the command and paste it into our terminal. And then we'll press enter. And when we press enter, Ollama will download the Llama 3 model for us. And this will only happen the first time you run the model. The next time you launch this, it won't download the model again. So we'll skip the video forward until the download is complete. So with the download complete, Ollama will load the model, and now we are ready to enter a prompt. So I'm just going to type, why is the sky blue? And press enter. And now the model will work on that prompt and start giving us feedback shortly. So I'm not going to speed up or slow down this bit, just so you can see the actual speed of the response. If you've ever used ChatGPT before, it does respond a little quicker than this. However, this is a Raspberry Pi, and I think the speed and the responsiveness of this is pretty good considering. So now you've got a feel for the performance. I am going to skip it forward until the prompt's completed. Now the prompt's complete, and as you can see, the answer is pretty good. And remembering this is just a Raspberry Pi and not a supercomputer full of GPUs, I do think the responsiveness is really good. So when we finish prompting, we just need to type in /by and press enter to exit back to the prompt. Now, before we go on to set up a web interface, I'd like to talk about some of the different models that we can use and why we may use them. Now, we've already tested Llama 3 from Meta. Let's now have a look at Gemma, which is developed by Google. So if we go back to the Ollama website and then click on Models, we can search for Gemma. Now, if we click the Gemma link, we'll be taken to the page that tells us all about the Gemma model. So as before, we just need to click this button to copy the command and then go to our terminal and we will paste the command in. But before running this time, we're going to add --verbose to the command before we press enter. So as you can see, Ollama will download the model for us as expected. So while that's downloading, I just want to explain the verbose option. What the verbose option does is when our question has been answered, it will show us some stats about it. And we'll use this in a moment to show the difference between two models. So we'll just skip the video forward until the download's complete. So now the download's completed, let's enter our prompt. So let's type why is the sky blue and press enter. And then the model will start responding to us. So I'm going to skip through the response so I can show you the output at the end. So notice at the bottom we have our verbose output. So the important figures here is the evaluation rate, and that is 1.65 tokens per second. And that is the rate at which the model responded to us. So we bear that in mind, we're going to try using a different variant of the Gemma model. So we'll just type /by and press enter to exit back to the prompt. So we'll go back to the Ollama website. So back on the page for the Gemma model, we should notice there is this drop-down box here. Now, what this allows us to do is to select variants of the same model. So we have been using the latest version of the model, which is this one here. But notice there's also a 2B version of the model. And the size for this model is much smaller. So the reason for this is the model was trained using the same method, but wasn't trained with quite as many parameters. For example, the latest version of the model was trained using around 9 billion parameters, whereas the 2B version of the model was trained with around 3 billion parameters. So the model won't be as accurate, but it still should respond a lot faster. So let's test it out. So with the 2B version selected, we just need to click on this button to copy the command. Go to our terminal. I'm going to open a new tab to run this in. And then I'm going to paste the command in. And then I'm going to add the --verbose option and press enter. Now this will download and run the model. So let's skip forward. So with the model running, we'll enter our prompt. Why is the sky blue? Press enter. And as you can see, it already seems to respond a lot quicker. But let's skip forward and see the figures at the end. So as you can see, this evaluated at a rate of 4.78 tokens per second. So if we go look at the other model on the other tab, we can see that it worked at 1.65 tokens per second. So as you can see, choosing a different variant of the model with a different weight can create a big difference on the speed of the response. Now the response might not be as accurate, and it's all about balancing which you prefer. And it's also worth pointing out that regardless of which model you run, the response it gives you may not be accurate at all. So before we go on to set up the web interface, we're going to type /by and press enter. Now we've played around with Ollama and the command line, let's create a proper web interface for it so we can use it in our web browser. So to do this, we will use Open WebUI, which works as a front end for Ollama. And if you've ever used ChatGPT, the interface for Open WebUI will seem really familiar. So Open WebUI runs in a Docker container, but don't worry if you don't have Docker installed or you don't know what Docker is. There are only 2 commands to run to have Open WebUI up and running. So let's go to a terminal and run the first command. So this command will install Docker. If you already have Docker installed, you can skip to the next part. So we'll run the command sudo apt install docker.io and press enter. And then press Y and press enter. And this will install Docker on our system. So we'll skip forward to when that's complete. So now that's complete, we just need to run our final command. So if we go back to the Open WebUI GitHub page, and then we scroll down to find a section that looks like this, with the title Open WebUI Server Connection Error. Don't worry, it is the section we want. All we need to do is copy this command, go back to our terminal, and I'm just going to clear the screen, and then type sudo space and then paste the command at the end. And when we press enter, this will download Open WebUI and install it on our system for us. So we'll press enter and we'll skip forward until the installation is complete. And that's it, the installation is completed. And if you want to verify that it's actually running, you can type sudo docker ps, and you should see we have Open WebUI and it's up and running. Now let's go to the web interface. So back in our browser, let's open a new tab and enter http://raspberry-pi.local:8080 and press enter. And this should load the Open WebUI interface. Now we have to create an account to log in. Don't worry, this is just a local account on this local system. So let's click the sign up link, enter a name here, and then let's enter an email address. I'm just going to type my username at raspberry-pi.local. Doesn't have to be a real email address, just has to look like one, and then enter a password and click create an account. So now we're logged in to our Open WebUI. So we'll click OK to close this message, and we can see the main interface. And if you've ever used ChatGPT, you'll see that this interface looks very familiar. So let's start chatting with the AI. So we'll go up to select model and choose this one, the Gemma 2B model. And then I'm going to enter a prompt, which is tell me a joke. And I'm going to press send message. And much like the command line version, it will now start generating an output for us. So we'll skip forward to when that's done. So now that's done, the AI has responded with a terrible joke. We should notice that there's a little icon here, like an eye in a circle. If you hover over that, it will give us all the information about how long that prompt took to process. So remember, it's all running locally, offline, on a Raspberry Pi. So it's really pretty good. So now we can continue to chat with the AI, asking it more questions, and it will save our chat in the left-hand side in the chat history. Again, another terrible joke. So our chat history is automatically saved and you'll see it on the left-hand side. If we want to start a new chat, just go to the new chat link and click that. And notice that our old chat is still in the left-hand side column, and we can go back to it when we want. And in the new chat, we can select another model, and enter a prompt and click send message. If I want to go back to my old chat, I can just move over to the link on the left and click that. And as you can see, it's the old chat that's being brought up, which is pretty good. Now, I want to show you another model that is pretty good, and this is the Llava model. Now, this model is a multi-mode model, and what that means is that it can understand the text that we enter, but it can also understand what it sees in images. So let's start a new chat by clicking here. First thing we need to do is go get the model. So as we're using Open WebUI, the way that we get the model is slightly different. So first we need to have a look at the model page. So we'll go back to the Ollama site and click on models. And then we're going to search for Llava, LLava. Click on this, and this will show us all about the model as usual. So all we need to do is make a note of the name. In this case, it's Llava, LLava. Then let's go back to Open WebUI. Now back in Open WebUI, click on this cog here, and then select the models option. Now in this box, we just need to type the name of the model that we want, and that is LLava, Llava, and press the download button. And in the background, this will start downloading the model for us, and we'll skip forward to when that's complete. Now, when the download is complete, we should see this little pop-up at the top of the screen, and we can now close the settings box by clicking the X icon here. And now we're ready to run our new model. So let's go up to select model and choose Llava. And now we'll come down to the input box and we can click the plus icon here to upload a file. So I've got this picture of a train station, so I'm going to upload that. And now I'm going to enter the prompt, describe this image, and press enter. Now the model will look at the image and look at the prompt, and then it will start returning some output. This model is very heavy and very slow on Raspberry Pi, so it will take quite a while to process. So we'll just skip forward to when that's done. Now the model has finished evaluating our input and it's going to start returning data. So as you can see already, it's really quite accurate. It's already identified that this is London King's Cross Station, which it has read from the signpost in front. Now, it's also said that there's 3 trains, and I'm not sure I agree with that. And we'll skip forward again until the output is complete. So the output's complete, and you can see it's really quite detailed. It's covered some of the architecture of the building, and it's even gone into detail about weather. And I think it's really quite accurate overall, even if it's just missing out in a couple of areas. But remember, it's all running local on a Raspberry Pi. So I do think the output really is really good. So if we hover over the information icon, we can see how long the model took to process, and we can see the total time was just over 9 minutes. And obviously, the limited resources on our Raspberry Pi is the reason for that. But overall, it is still quite fun to have a play around with. So now we've played around with some of these large language models, it is clear that our Raspberry Pi doesn't have massive amounts of compute power like ChatGPT, for example, but it does do a decent job. But we can shave off a couple of milliseconds here and there with a few changes. So the first one is a software change. And what we will do is stop our Raspberry Pi from loading its desktop when it boots, and instead we will use the browser on our computer to access Open WebUI remotely. And hopefully this should free up a little more processor for our large language model. So to do this, we just need to go to a terminal on our Raspberry Pi and run sudo raspi-config, choose the system option, and then choose the boot auto login option. and then select Console, the first option. And with that done, it's also a good idea to make sure SSH is enabled. So choose the interface option, then SSH, and then say, yes, we would like SSH to be enabled, and press OK. And then we can go to finish using the tab key, and then select yes to reboot the Raspberry Pi. And when the Raspberry Pi reboots, it will start up in console mode, and this will use less CPU performance and hopefully make Ollama perform better. So now I've rebooted my Raspberry Pi and I'm now back on my Windows desktop. So if I open a browser and enter raspberrypi.local:8080 and press enter, this will take me to the Open WebUI login page. So I just need to enter the email address I used, which is my username at raspberrypi.local, and then enter the password I set, click sign in, clear these boxes away. So as you can see, my chat history is still here. There's 2 chats that I've had, and we can continue or we can start a new chat. So the final change I'm going to make to improve performance is to go from using a micro SD card to using an NVMe drive. I'm going to be using this NVMe base. So I did a fresh install on both micro SD card and the NVMe drive. Then I tested this one prompt using the Llama 3 8B model. And I repeated the prompt 3 times, and this is the total time taken to respond. So as you can see, the NVMe generally outperforms the SD card by some way. So it really is well worth using if you want fast results. So thanks for watching this video. And I have to say, it has been quite interesting playing around with AI with the Raspberry Pi. And while the Raspberry Pi isn't a computer powerhouse, it definitely is capable to allow us to experiment with some of these large language models. So again, thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please do consider subscribing or leaving a comment below of how you found it and how you've got on having a play around with it. And I'll see you soon.